But then some people become too reliant on waiting for their agent to find work. And that was another learning curve getting into voiceover. I realized one of the early jobs I went to, when I walked in, there were a couple of talent coming out. And it was like, oh, see you, Abby, see you, Matt, see you, whoever. And I thought, okay, how do I shortcut this? They know those people, but they have no idea who I am. So how do I make them know me and do it really quickly? So I employed a photographer, and I said, look, we're going to do that. We're going to make the early CD demos because cassettes are just finished. I want to make a CD, but I want you to think, if this was an album, what would you have as an album cover that has to, and I'm a solo artist, what would you put on there? So we shot these photographs. I had the slicks made for the CDs. I had the slicks made for the VHS videos at that time, headshots, everything, and dropped those to every studio that I knew and every ad agency that I knew. And that was an absolute shortcut because I'd walk in, my CD would be on their desk, be like, oh, that face. Oh, it's Andrew. Yeah, hi, Andrew. Take a seat. Be with you shortly. So that was one of the things that helped a lot. But as far as the actually doing voiceovers, man, you learn that's a baptism of fire when you get in the studio and learning the etiquette of voiceover. Because the first thing that went through my mind was, you're paying for an hour, so I better give you an hour's worth. Not realizing that they don't want me there for the hour. They want me there for as short a time as possible because I'm just chewing up cash by hanging around. That was another valuable lesson.
Andrew, you made a comment earlier that I'd like to explore. You said everybody that thinks they're in radio thinks that they can do voiceovers. So what is different then?
It's a different way of communicating. When you're a jock, you very rarely are particularly you. A lot of it's hypey, jock talk. But when you're doing a voiceover, a lot of this is conversational, it's intimate, it's, one-on-one kind of, it's a different way of using the way you communicate. It is much more intimate doing voiceover, which I'm sure some radio people would disagree with, but, radio is it's a different beast. You're an entertainer. Yeah. You're up there. You're up there singing, where when you're doing voiceover, you're in there acting, and that's probably the difference.
How long did it take you to get a handle on that?
I had to learn pretty quickly because that's the only income I had. So it was an absolute learning curve, and I was lucky that I worked with some really good people who taught me some fantastic tricks. Really, great
directors or other voiceover artists.
Directors.
Yeah.
And there were some really, really weird tricks that you would think, how does that work? But, you're constantly falling over something or you're just not getting something right. And cross that, take out that letter and write it upside down. And then have another crack. Your brain all of a sudden changes. It's looking, what's that? And refocuses everything and bingo. You've solved the problem. Another thing that was to articulate well, if it's quite a wordy piece of copy, is to almost purse your lips. It actually makes what's coming out of your mouth much cleaner and more articulate by pursing lips, which is another bizarre trick.
Well, let me ask you something about copy. Now, I've found that, and I'm sure it's true, that things that read well on the paper don't necessarily speak well.